All right, let's talk about a really interesting Agile methodology, one specifically designed to bring some serious order to big, complex projects. It's called Feature-Driven Development, or FDD for short.
So, why do so many big projects just fall into chaos? You've probably been there, right? A huge project kicks off with all this excitement, but before you know it, things are a total mess. The bigger the project, the easier it is for everything to get tangled up and for the team to completely lose its way. Well, that exact problem, that's what FDD was designed to fix.
And, that kind of chaos, it leads directly to what I call the morale killers. You've got confusion about what you're even supposed to be doing next. You've got that soul-crushing rework on the same things over and over. Deadlines just whoosh right by. And maybe worst of all is that sinking feeling in your stomach when you realize you have no real idea how much progress has actually been made. It's just so frustrating. FDD's whole goal is to wipe these things right off the board.
So, what exactly is FDD? Well, at its core, it's an agile framework that organizes everything around delivering small, client-valued features. The whole philosophy is built on this really simple but powerful idea. Break down all the work into tiny, tangible features that a client can actually see, touch, and appreciate. It's all about shipping real working software, one feature at a time in these short, predictable cycles.
And this isn't some brand new, trendy idea. FDD was actually born out of pure necessity way back in 1997. Picture this. A guy named Jeff DeLuca is staring down the barrel of this massive 15-month project for a big bank in Singapore. To handle the sheer complexity of it all, he came up with this structured approach. It worked so well that the methodology was later written down and shared with the world.
Okay, so how does this thing actually work? Let's get into the FDD engine room. FDD is built on a really clear 5-step process. And I mean, this isn't just a bunch of loose suggestions. It's the absolute core engine that drives the entire project forward.
First up, you develop an overall model. Think of it like an architectural blueprint for the whole system. This step is huge because it gets everyone on the same page about the big picture right from the start. From that blueprint, you build out a feature list. Literally, everything the system needs to do. And then, it's a simple, logical flow. You plan by feature, you design by feature, and you build by feature. It takes you from that high-level vision all the way down to the actual code, one manageable piece at a time.
And here's the kicker. That last part, the design and build for any one feature, happens in really short cycles. We're talking 2 weeks tops. This creates this awesome, constant stream of visible progress. No more waiting around for months to see something work. It's just continuous delivery. Now, to move that fast, you need a very specific kind of team.
And that brings us to the cast of characters. See, unlike some other agile methods that are all about self-organizing teams, FDD is different. It lays out very specific roles. This creates a super clear structure of who is responsible for what. Let's meet the team.
Okay, first up, you've got the leadership trio. The project manager is the administrative lead. They shield the team from all the outside noise and distractions. Then you have the chief architect, who is the technical visionary, the one responsible for that big picture system design. And finally, the development manager is the daily guide, the person who mentors the team and clears any hurdles that get in their way. Next, we have the implementation crew, the folks who are actually building the thing. The chief programmer is an experienced lead developer who manages small teams focused on specific features. The class owners are the developers who are responsible for designing, coding, and testing those features. They literally own that piece of the code. And then, and this is so important, you have the domain expert. This person is the voice of the customer, bringing all that critical business knowledge to the table to make sure the team is building the right thing.
All right, so we've seen the process, we've met the team, but the real question is FDD actually right for you? Let's get to the verdict. We'll look at where it really shines and maybe where it doesn't so much.
Okay, let's break it down. On the plus side, FDD is fantastic for large, complex projects. That structure we talked about, it's invaluable for tracking progress and keeping those morale killers at bay. But, on the other hand, it can be total overkill for small projects. All those defined roles can just be too much overhead. It also really depends on having a great chief programmer, which can be a bottleneck. And that idea of individual code ownership, it's a great concept, but it might not click with every team's culture.
To really get a feel for it, let's put it side by side with Scrum, which most of us know. The big difference in focus is this. FDD is laser-focused on completing features, while Scrum is focused on delivering a shippable product increment at the end of a sprint. Team structure is another one. Scrum loves self-organizing teams, right?
FDD not so much. It has those 6 defined roles. And when it comes to code, FDD uses individual class ownership, whereas in Scrum, it's all about shared ownership. This all means FDD tends to be more predictable, where Scrum is built to be more adaptable.
So, what's the bottom line? When should you really consider FDD? Well, it really shines when you're tackling a genuinely large-scale, complex project. It's also great when you have a more experienced team that can step into those specific, defined roles. And it's an absolute game changer when your business domain is super complicated and you need that detailed modeling up front to make sure you don't get lost. If quality and code inspections are a top priority, FDD is definitely worth a look.
And really, this brings us full circle, right back to where we started. The ultimate promise of feature-driven development is to bring clarity and discipline to the chaos. By focusing everyone on features and sticking to a clear process, it directly attacks those 2 big morale killers, confusion and rework.
So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. In the Agile world, which often values flexibility above all else, FDD makes a really strong case for structure. It's this interesting hybrid, you know? It takes the iterative, fast-paced nature of Agile and combines it with a disciplined, process-driven approach. What you get is a much more predictable path through those really tough, complex projects.
And that leaves us with a pretty interesting question to think about. In a world that prizes speed and flexibility, is it possible that a more structured, predictable approach like FDD is actually the key to taming the massive complexity we're seeing in modern software development? Something to chew on.